breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm up, brother, welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Scott Reichel. He does such great work over the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Have to talk with him about some of these murky playoff scenes that we are seeing right now, especially out there in the American League. We're going to get his thoughts on what we've got on the Thursday card as well. And then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters the they mean does not matter. So, as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way, that is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Well, I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today. We had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
23 runs. That's how many the Cubs put up on the Slam Diego Padres. The Padres get slammed. This by a count of 23-3. Walker Buehler, he gave up 3 home runs, 9 runs over the course of 4 innings. Kyle Hart from there, 6 runs, 5 of which were earned in 2 innings. He gave up 3 home runs, and Rodolfo Duran, the backup catcher, 8 runs given up in 2 innings. He gave up a pair of home runs. Michael Conforto, 6th and 7th home runs of the campaign. Dansby Swanson goes deep 3 times. His 14th, 15th, and 16th home runs of the season. Michael Busch, his 11th home run season. Pete Armstrong, his 19th home run season. Seiya Suzuki, his 13th home run season. Swanson had 8 RBI after he had the 15 RBI doubleheader against the Mets. I think that was on a Wednesday as well. Maybe it just needs to continue to just play on only Wednesdays. And Colin Reyes had hit Pipper to a bunch of run support. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Does give up a home run, as it was home run number 1 of the season for one Mr. Sungmin Song. You'd have from there Trent Thornton give you a scoreless inning, and then 3 innings of long relief from Jordan Wicks. He gives up 1 run along the way. The Washington Nationals just continue to hit 10-2. They take down the Boston Red Sox. As for Brad Lord, he was the opener, and he said, "Oh Lord," to an ace open. 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Andrew Alvarez from there, 4 2/3 innings scoreless. You did have Carson Palmquist be able to polish off a scoreless inning. 2 runs given up by Ryan Cornelio. He was in there for an inning, and for Peyton Doley, well, he paid the toll. 6 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings, as he was taken deep by Andres Chaparro, his first home run of the campaign. And how about Nasim Nunez getting his first home run of the season? Then James Goodwood, his 22nd home run of the campaign, as Ryan Watson gives up a run over the course of 2 innings. Giovanni Morin, 1 run allowed and 1 2/3 innings. And Alec Gamboa, he gives up that home run. As for Mr. Gamboa, 2 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, including that bomb to Mr. Wood. For the New York Yankees, they lose another series, 6-2. The Detroit Tigers get the job down here. As for the Yankees, Will Warren, pretty solid start here. 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. Does get taken deep by Kevin McGonigal, 7th home run season. From there, Paul Blackburn walks the plank for 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Brent Hendrick, 4 outs scoreless. Fernando Cruz, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. And Camilo Duvall continues to be terrible. 4 runs, 2 of which were earned, give it up in the 11th inning, as this game was 2-2 going into the 11th inning. Troy Mullen just continues to be great, too. 6 1/3 innings scoreless. Drew Summers from there, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Drew Anderson tried to close this thing out. 2 runs allowed in 2 innings, including a bomb to Ahmed Rosario. 9th home run season, that forced extra innings. And then Kadir Montero, a scoreless 10th and 11th inning, as the Yankees 0-8 with men in scoring position, so that's not great there. For the Cleveland Guardians, their offense has not been great recently, but was on this day, 9-4. They take down the Walker Texas Rangers. Mackenzie Gore gets scored. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a home run to one Mr. David Fry. 5th home run season. Austin Hedges, his 2nd home run of the campaign. That comes off of the young guy Winston Santos in his MLB debut. Gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 innings. Cole Winn, he gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work. And Joey Cantillo, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Colin Olderman, he gives up a run in an inning. Hunter Gaddis, Tim Aaron, they goodbye for a shutout inning. Eric Zabrowski gives up a solo home run to Elias Diaz, his 3rd home run of the campaign in his inning of work. And Matt Fessa, he had a fiesta. He was able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Baltimore Orioles, they avoid the sweep against the White Sox. 6-1, they get the win here as Noah Schultz, 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. He was taken deep by Tyler O'Neill. 3rd home run season, and Leody Taveras a bit later on off of Brandon Eisert. 3rd home run season, Eisert, he gives up that home run in his inning of work. Jordan Hicks, scoreless inning. Brian Hudson gives up a run in a 1/3 of an inning. Trevor Richards, runs, 1 1/3 innings, gives up a run, and Dean Kramer, he does give up a home run to Sammy Tanasi in the first inning, 5th home run of the season, settles down from there, gives up just that home run. In 6 innings of work, Tyler Wells pitches Wells for 2 shutout innings, and then Andrew Kittredge, a shutout inning from there. The New York Mets just continue to be miserable, 9-3. The Toronto Blue Jays get the job done here as Braden Fisher, the opener, a scoreless inning, and then from there you had Spencer Miles be able to give you 3 shutout innings. Patrick Corbin in the bullpen, long relief, 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Francisco Lindor, 4th home run of the season, Carson Benjay, 10th home run of the season, but that was more than good enough to get the job done as Freddie Peralta on another bad start. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings as he was taken deep by the young gun Sean Keyes, his first home run as a member of the Blue Jays. Congratulations to him. From there, Joey Gerber, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Zeno Perez got 4 outs as well, but he gave up 4 runs, including a home run to Miles Straw, his 3rd home run of the campaign, and then AJ Minter, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels from there. The Atlanta Braves get a nice win, 5-1. They're able to take down the St. Louis Cardinals, as for the Cardinals, they had a tough time hitting one Mr. Reynaldo Lopez. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. The Doddfather, Dylan Dodd, Didier Fuentes, the other Dylan Lee, along with Horacio Iglesias, all on to squirrel inning, and Michael McGravy continues to be solid here for the Cardinals. 6 loss, but 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Ozzy, Albies, 13th home run of the season. From there, you had Justin Brule give up 2 runs, one of which was earned in a third of an inning. Gordon Gaseffo, a run in 2/3 of an inning, and Max Rikosic, hopefully you got that correct, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well, being able to get the job done as well. Got a solid win here from the Philadelphia Phillies by a count of 10-6 as Paul Skeens, 8 runs, 7 of which were earned, given up in 4 innings, was not hurt by the fielding. There was an error out there, and Henry Davis should have challenged a call, but not great, to say the least. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez. Was not messed with. 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Cam Sanders was able to give you 5 out squirrels, and then Dennis Santana, 2 runs allowed in an inning. He does give up a home run, though, as taking him deep, you had Alec Boehm get his 10th home run of the season, then off of Skeens. Brandon Marsh, 15th home run of the season. Trey Turner down for what? His 10th, and Zach Wheeler, he does get 10 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings, but he allows 4 runs of his own in 4 2/3 innings. Henry Davis, 7th home run of the season. Kyle Backus, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Seth Johnson, he gives up 2 runs over the course of an inning. Orion Kirkering, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, and Yohan Duran was able to give you a scoreless inning of his own. You were able to get quite a few scoreless innings from the Tampa Bay Rays. They shut out the Royals, this by a count of 4-0, as for the Royals, well, they were royally leaving men on base. 6 men left on base, and Seth Lugo, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by Cedric Mullins, 9th home run season, a Junior Caminero, 24th of the season. I think that's his 6th straight game with a home run. Matt Strom, a scoreless inning out of him. You would have 2 innings out of Jose Quas, who gives up a run along the way, and Sugar Shane McClain, and, well, he was sugary yet sweet. 6 shutout innings. Cole Sulzer, a scoreless inning. Garrett Clevenger, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Kevin Kelly, 1 1/3 inning scoreless out of him. The Colorado Rockies were able to get a win 6-3 over the Miami Marlins. For Kyle Freeland, one of his best starts of the year, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Juan Mejia gives up his home run in 2 innings of work as Joe Mack, 6th home run of the campaign. Jimmy Ergid and Brendan Bernardino supply a scoreless inning from there. For Max Meyer, he was hurt by Javier Sanja fielding as he gives up 5 runs in 6 innings, only 1 of which was earned. He gives up a pair of bombs. Mickey Moniak, his 14th home run of the season, and Hunter Goodman continues to be a good man, 27th home run of the season. Kyle Karros a little bit later on off of Tyler Zuber, his 6th home run of the campaign. Zuber gives up that home run in an inning of work. John King was the king of giving you a shutout inning, but for a Miami Marlins team that had the best record in the month of June, 0-1 to begin July, and the Brewers, they get a 4-2 win over the Cincinnati Reds as this game was 2-2 in the top of the 2nd inning, and then the scoring dies from there as Andy Rabbit, he has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer in, I believe, 12 straight starts, 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. From there, TJ Antone a shutout inning, but Brock and Roll Burke, he gets Brock and Roll, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 inning. Pierce Johnson a scoreless inning, Emilio Pagan from there, out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Shane Drone gives up 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings as Neil Marte of the Marte Parte, his 5th home run of the campaign. Aaron Ashby 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, they're able to give you shutout 8th and 9th innings, and for the Twins, they do take it to the Houston Astros, this by a count of 8-3 as Taj Bradley, well, he was not playing games, he wasn't Milton, 11 punch-outs, 1 run allowed in 5 innings. From there, Cody Layerson, 2 unearned runs given up in 2/3 of an inning of work. Cody Clemens had a error out there in the field. Andrew Morris from there, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Taylor Rogers and Yandres Gomez close it out in the 8th and 9th innings, and Tetsuya Amai, this was not what he was looking for. 4 outs in his start, gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of bombs, as he was taken deep by one Mr. Josh Bell's 11th home run season, and Cody Clemens atones for the error, his 14th home run season. Lucas Shaw, he gets his 3rd home run season. That comes off of Brian DeBrey, who gives up that home run in 2 innings of work. AJ Blubaugh, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. Nate Pearson, he gives up 2 runs in his inning of work, and then you were able to get 2 shutout innings from the young gun for this team in Miguel Ilola. For the Dodgers, they decided to make it Jacob Barnes night, as you had the opener Jack Dreyer give a shutout inning and struck out the side in the first inning, and then Barnes, 7 runs allowed in 7 innings. They just had him wear it. He gives up 12 hits, 3 home runs. Jonah Heim, his 8th home run of the season. Shea Langoliers, Shea Banks, his 20th home run of the season. Then you'd have home run number 2 of the season for the backup shortstop in Alika Williams. Meanwhile, for the Athletics, JT Ginn and Juice. Boy, he continues to get you buzzed up. He gives up a run over the course of 6 innings, as that one run was a solo run to Freddie Freeman, 14th home run season. Luis Medina, Hogan Harris from there. They combine for 3 shutout innings, and for the San Francisco Giants, they get a 6-4 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks, as it continues to be a no good, very bad, terrible season here for our good friend Zach Gallen, who gives up 6 runs over the course of 5 2/3 innings. Actually had 4 shutout innings and then got destroyed, as Eloy Ramos, 6th home run of the campaign, and Victor Barracoto gets his 4th home run of the campaign. From there, the bullpen was able to hold it down, but it was too little too late, as you were able to get a scoreless inning out of Taylor Clark, along with Braden Garcia and Jonathan Loaiza for scoreless innings. Ryan Thompson out of the bullpen scoreless, and for Trevor Old McDonald, just 1 hit allowed in 6 shutout innings. From there, Eric Miller, scoreless inning. Ryan Walker made a big mess out of things. He gives up 4 runs and he doesn't get a single out of the bullpen, but Dylan Smith, Caleb Killian, they steady things from there. They're both able to give you a scoreless inning, and if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now has been an overwhelming season thus far. The over rate is in that neighborhood, about 50.8%, 641 overs, 622 unders, and if I'm not mistaken, 31 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line hitting at 55.8%, 702 and 557, and among those 702 favorites, we have now seen a whopping 164 fail to cover the run line, and over the last 7 days, favorites have been reigning supreme, 55 and 37 on the money line. Among those 55 favorites, all but 12 covered the run line, and the over rate, that is about 53.5%, 50 overs, 44 unders, and a push along the way. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, let's chat it up with our good friend Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Scott Reichel aboard. He does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball, and he really does so much on so many different fronts. Tennis, basketball, football, you name it, he does it. If they needed a podcast on hot dog eating contests, I'm sure that he'd be able to do a great job there as well. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Reichel Radio. That's his last name, and then the word radio. That is spelled Reichel on Reichel. And Scott, always appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's actually funny you mentioned the hot dog eating contest, because coincidentally, I have action on the hot dog eating contest from about a week ago, and I beat a 7 hot dog line move. So that's where I'm at.
Hey, I told you guys, if you need hot dog eating contest information, Scott Reichel's your man. He does a little bit of everything and does so also well. So, proving my point once again, that's why we love you on this podcast, Scott. And what we love about this podcast is that there's no shortage of confusion in the American League right now, because, man, not been great to say the least. The New York Yankees, they lose another series against the Detroit Tigers after they were looking like they were really rounding into form without Aaron Judge. The Rays, they've been a little bit hot and cold recently, been a little bit better over the last few days, but what do you make out of an American League that we're halfway through the season now and there's still no clarity whatsoever with this league?
Yeah, Yankees have lost 7 in a row, so not even just losing series, but they can't win a game at this point in time. They managed to come back in the 9th inning and then immediately blew it in the 11th, but either way, Yankees are in free fall, which we tend to see every summer. I feel like this isn't exactly a surprise to Yankees fans, including myself. There's always a slump built in there somewhere. I'm actually just shocked the Yankees held on this long without Judge. So I'm not totally surprised the team eventually started to fall apart. Tampa, though, is winning right now. They've won 6 in a row. If they win right now, they're going to be up to 3.5 game lead in the division. So Tampa looks very good right now, but we know Camanero's been just a madman. He's had a homer in 6 straight games. He's kind of carrying the entire offense right now. As for the rest of the AL, nobody really impresses me, and I'm assuming it's the same thing for you, but the AL West suddenly turned into a competitive division because the Rangers have been in good form recently. The Astros are randomly back from the dead. A lot of, I'd say, average to below average teams, but they're in the same division, so at least you have some chaos.
Yep, it certainly is interesting with the Athletics. You've got a few guys that are stepping up for this team as well, but it's been quite wobbly for them. And is there a team or two out there in the American League that you're finding a little bit of value on right now? Because I'm glad that you mentioned the Rangers. They're a team that I've been liking quite a bit because the pitching is so good. Obviously, the offense leaves a lot to be desired, but I would say them, and I still, maybe this is me being stubborn, I still think that the Blue Jays are going to improve as the season goes along.
Yeah, so for me, I'll give you one team that I think is still undervalued in one kind of trend I just keep following, but the White Sox, they ended up losing today, so not exactly a great showing, but they've been good. I mean, 45-40, they're not a good road team, but I think the offense definitely has potential, and we've seen it this season. Pitching staff, I think, is fine. You could argue that it's somewhat smoke and mirrors, but I think that the White Sox are still undervalued based on how good they've been this season, and they're in first place for a reason. The other angle I'll go with is something we talked about earlier in the show. Just fade whoever plays the Yankees right now, and you're in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It has been rough for the New York Yankees over the last week or so. We'll see if they get back online. As Scott Reichel, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And hey, the Rangers are going to be action, and the Yankees can't lose on this Thursday. They are not in action, so that's good news for them. But with this Rangers versus Tigers game, right now the Rangers ending between -124 to -134, totals between 7.5 and 8. Want to get your thoughts here because the Tigers are coming off that nice sweep against the Yankees, and they've played a little bit better here recently, but Framber Valdez has not been himself, and Nathan Eovaldi has been allowing a little bit of hard contact this season as well.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll go with Texas. I mean, Valdez probably has to go a lot of distance because it went 11 innings today, so I wouldn't mind maybe going for Valdez outs over, but the line might be juice, so once again, wait to see what the line comes out at. Probably like 17.5, if I had to guess, but check out the juice. Texas, though, has been good. Detroit, though, despite sweeping the Yankees, has been quite bad on the road this season, 15-28. I think the game will be competitive, but I do think Texas, in my opinion, has the, as far as I'm concerned, better pitcher right now based on the ERAs of the season. Eovaldi gave up no runs in his last start, so at least he's off of a great outing against the Blue Jays, and they have won 3 straight that he's appeared in. I think the game will be close, but I think Texas in general is a team at home I don't mind backing. Detroit on the road, though, exceptions to be made because the Yankees are in free fall, but they're not a team I want to really back away from home. So I'll go with the team that's 1 game over as opposed to the team that's 11 under. I'll go with the Eovaldi and the Rangers in this one.
Yep, I think that that's a good look there. And then I think that this one is very interesting between the Angels and the Seattle Mariners because the Mariners have just been hovering right around 500, and Bryce Miller has put together a really nice season. Sub-2 ERA, I fear that the fielding dependent might catch up with him a little bit. He's been giving up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and Wilber Urania has been actually a bright spot for the Angels, but gives up a lot of walks, and that Angels bullpen is terrible. Right now I'm seeing a total of 7.5. I'm not in the business of laying -$2 with the Mariners, but personally I do like the over as a way of being able to back them to think that they get to this Angels bullpen that has not been good.
Yeah, so I agree with you about the bullpen angle, but I'll go with the Mariners -1.5 at +110 instead. The Angels have lost 3 of their last 5, but all 3 losses were by 4+ runs. So when they lose in grand fashion, and I can see that happening again in this one. Angels also 15-29 on the road. Mariners are 24-19 at home. Miller's been great at home this season. Not a big sample, but still 15 2/3 innings, 1 total run allowed. I don't mind Urania. I think he's fine, but as you said, the Angels bullpen has been just atrocious all season. Seattle, look, I'm not a fan of the offense, but they were good in the first 2 games of this series. I think it's a pretty decent spot for Seattle to take out the trash, so to speak, at home in this series finale. Give me the Mariners -1.5 +110.
Yep, I don't hate that look either. I think that you either need to take a big shot on the money line with the Angels or you take the run line because laying $2, that's just not a way that you want to be going about things. And with regards to this game, I do think that it's going to be lower scoring than a lot of people think. We've got the White Sox going up against the Guardians, and right now for the White Sox, still them about -115, -120 favorites, total of 8.5. And I've liked what I've seen out of Davis Martin all season long, and bigger than that, the Cleveland Guardians recognize that they put up some runs on Wednesday, but man, that offense has been awful. And Slade Sassodi, all of a sudden, it's been much better than we expected. Want to get your thoughts here because I feel like 8.5 is too high of a total with the way that the Guardians are playing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think 8.5 is too high. I like the under at -105. Martin's allowed less than 2 runs in 3 of his last 4 starts, and Giaccone's been good recently. Him and Cantillo have been good lately. So, I feel like they're a bit underrated right now based on pricing, and we saw Cantillo win on Wednesday. But last 5 starts for Giaccone, 28 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.88 ERA. He's been great. I understand the White Sox offense can be dangerous at times, but I actually trust both pitchers to take, I'd say, a solid performance on the mound on Thursday. So I like the under. I think 8.5 is too high.
Yep, I'm right there with you, as we do have our good friend Scott Reichel of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And then this one is going to be the early game. It's the Pirates going up against the Phillies, as Jared Jones has been shaky since coming off the injury list, and just a really small sample size out of Allen Rangel. Hard to make too much out of him, but in that small sample size hasn't been bad. The Phillies between about minus 125, minus 135 favorites and a total of 10. Want to get your thoughts here on a Pirates team that had to go into the bullpen more than expected yesterday, with Paul Skeens getting lit up once again.
Yeah, so look, at the end of the day, the Phillies have just owned this team all season. Phillies are 4-1 against the Pirates. Assuming they hold on Wednesday, they'll be 5-1, so keep that in mind. But all 5 wins are on pace to be by 2+ runs. Pirates, though, have not been good. 9-14 in the last 23. I'll go with the Phillies money line. I found minus 122. I think the pitchers are kind of irrelevant in this one. Jones, as you said before, has not been good since coming back off the IL, but in general, Philly's been a wagon. We've seen them dominate the Pirates pitching staff all season. Really doesn't matter who's pitching for Pittsburgh. Every pitcher has gotten destroyed by this team besides arguably Ashcraft. But I'll go for Philly. I think 122 is too cheap at home for a team that's been really good lately. Give me the Phillies at minus 122.
Yep, it certainly has been a nice turnaround for this bunch. Things were not great to begin the season, and things are great for them once again. And these two pitchers, they have been amazing. Chase Burns and Jacob Mizorowski are going at it, and Brewers are nearly minus $2 favorites. The total's between 6.5 and 7, and I want to get your thoughts because I love Jacob Mizorowski, but I feel like this money line price is just out of hand. I, on principle, had to take a shot on the Reds, and I do certainly think that both of these starters are going to be able to supply a good start. The only question is whether or not the bullpen gives up enough runs for the over.
Yeah, so I found a very degen angle, which I think has some value to it. I'm going to go with the first 3 innings total, under 1.5 at plus 130 in this game. Mizorowski, we know, has been incredible. Last 10 starts, 66 in the 3rd innings pitched, a .54 ERA. He's in an all-time run right now. As for Burns, he's been great too. His last start wasn't good, but that was the only start out of his last 13 where he's allowed more than 2 earned runs. So he's allowed less than 3 earned runs in 12 of the last 13 starts that he's made. I see a low-scoring start to this game. And 11 of Milwaukee's last 16 games have had less than 2 runs in the first 3 innings. But I think the first 3 under 1.5, basically first time through the order, plus 130, I think it's a great price. It's a low total in general of about 7 or even 6.5 in some spots. Give me the first 3 innings under 1.5 plus 130.
Yep, I think that that's a great angle because that takes the bullpens completely out of it. So I do think that that's good. And in just one inning, sometimes you just get a fluky error or something like that. So you get a little bit of a bigger sample size than that. And Scott, you do such a tremendous job on so many different fronts. You proved me correct with regards to hot dog eating contest. So I appreciate that. You do a great job with 4 or 5 different podcasts over there at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. So let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, so follow me on SGPN. All my podcasts are free. So I'm doing the MLB Gambling Podcast, the Propcast, doing Tennis Gambling Podcast as well. WNBA, NBA, all that stuff, all free. So find that on SGPN. And follow me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Go Team USA.
Absolutely. And Scott, he's doing such a tremendous job on so many different fronts. And every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Scott for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VC Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time to podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 26th through July 6th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Scott Reichel, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. He does a lot in terms of tennis, baseball, basketball, list goes on, and every single time he joins me, learn such great insights. So big thanks to Scott for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order. If we had interleague games, they'd be at the bottom, but we do not have any, so that'll keep things clean and easy. Let's get things started with 901-902 on the card. The Pittsburgh Pirates walk the plank to Philadelphia to face off against the Phillies as Alan Rangel goes for the Phils, and you've got Jared Jones going for the Pirates. Total on this game is 10, unders minus 115, overs minus 105. You've got a money line price of minus 126 to minus 136 on the Phillies, plus 108 to a plus 110 is that number on the Pirates. And I set the Phillies at a minus 111. When we get the dime lines out, that should be able to get me a plus 112 or better on the Pirates, and that will put me in on their money line. I recognize that for Jared Jones, the ERA has been quite high as he's been posting up right in the neighborhood about 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings with 3 walks per 9, but 5.76 ERA, 4.79 fielding depending. He's getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. That should point to a little bit of positivity, and for Alan Rangel, it's a really small sample size, only 3 appearances, 4.50 ERA. He has pitched better than that with a 2.77 fielding dependent, 9.8 strikeouts, less than 2 walks per 9 innings, really not giving up the deep ball. So, I mean, even though he hasn't really been acclimated to the big league level quite yet, it's so far so good. And you take a look at what he did at the AAA level for Lehigh Valley. He was a relatively solid pitcher at the minor league level, 9.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings. And it is a Pirates team that takes a bit of a dive with their offense when they're away from home rather than at home. At home, over 5.5 runs per game, more like 4.65 runs per game when they're away from home. They're still dealing with the Oneil Cruz injury, which has been a little bit of an issue. Brandon Lau, he is getting loud as he's been supplying 18 plus home runs. It's for about a 240 or so, and getting back home Griffin is big for this team. He's been solid since coming off the injury list. Ryan O'Hearn, along with Gonzalez, between a 342 and 350 on base, with Gonzalez and Jake Magnum both hitting above a 290, and then Brian Reynolds right around about a 400 on base. Meanwhile, for the Phillies, they're heating up with their offense, but it's still top heavy. Kyle Schwarber, he's actually hitting a 255 with his 370 on base, 29 plus home runs. Bryce Harper, 18 plus bombs, 375 on base. And then Brandon Marsh, double figure amount of homers, hitting a 315. Trey Turner's been better recently, but he and Bryson Stott both hitting between about a 235 to 240. JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm have been miserable. And then you've had Adolis Garcia out of the fold in the outfield, and Gabriel Rincones somehow, someway has been even worse at the plate. For the Phillies, it's a so-so bullpen. You've been able to get some relatively okay innings out Chase Shoger, Tim Meza, but I mean, it's really all about Yohan Duran along with Ryan Kirkering, who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. And for the Pirates, this has been a pretty rough bullpen. Dennis Santana has seen his ERA go to a 4+. Carmen Mulzinski should be able to lend a little bit more length for the bullpen, but I mean, really, other than Evan Sisk, you've got a lot of guys above a 350, but I do think that Jones rounds into form, and Rangel, I think that he's going to be able to prove himself at the big league level. Plus 112 or better, looking at the Pirates, and like the under, semi-total at 8.9. 953 and 954 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. It's on to the road against the Brewers as the Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, is on the bump for the Brewers, and Chase Burns for the Cincinnati Reds. And the Reds are very sizable underdogs here. You're finding them about plus 160 to plus 165, minus 190 to minus $2 is that number on the Brewers. 6.5 to 7 is the total on the 7. Over is even money to minus 105. The under is between minus 115 to minus 120 on the 6.5. Over is minus 125. The under is plus 105. I do like the over a semi-total at 7.2, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the Reds. Chase Burns is doing for a little bit of regression. We did see that in his previous start, but I mean, the guy has been too solid to be this big of an underdog. 236 ERA, 317 fielding, depending with 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, only 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And for Mizorowski, I mean, he has been about as unhittable as it gets. A 145 ERA, 13.3 strikeouts, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, just some absolutely insane numbers, but even he is doing for a little bit of a clunker. He's only given up 3 earned runs, 4 runs in total over the course of his last 5 starts. But for the Cincinnati Reds, you now have reinforcements with Ellie De La Cruz coming off of injury. He, JJ Bleday, and then Cousin Sal Stewart have all been able to give you 12 to 15 home runs, and all 3 of these guys have been pretty solid in terms of moving the line, allowing at least a 255, and Eugenio Suarez has been a disappointment, but I could see him picking it up. You need more at the bottom line of Matt McClain, Avoli Marte. These guys hitting at 200 have been pretty much an issue. Tyler Stevenson stopping great at the catcher spot, and then the Brewers just nickel and dime you to death. You've got Bryce Durang, Jackson Trujillo, along with Jake Bowers, who've all been able to give you at least 12 home runs apiece, and all three of these guys have done a nice job, give you at least a 340 on base as well. William Contreras has been able to hit about a 300. Andrew Vaughn over a 400 on base. Garrett Mitchell does a great job in terms of moving the line. The Brewers, who have the leg up with their bullpen after Abner Uribe and Trevor McGill were a little bit less than savory to begin the season. They're back below a 350 ERA. Chad Patrick has been pretty good as a long guy. You're getting Jared Koenig back off the injury list. Aaron Ashby just been getting win after win. And for the Cincinnati Reds, they really were in a funk in May and early June with their bullpen, but ever since Caleb Ferguson has come off the injury list, it's been better. He and TJ Antone have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Now, you've had some of these guys like Tony Santana and company that have been absolutely awful, but Sam Moll is able to give you some good innings, Rock and Roll Burke as well. I do think that the Miz should be a solid favorite here, but getting plus 160 on Chase Burns, just too big of a number to deny. I do like the over. A semi-total at a 7.2, 955, 956 on the card. It's the Marlins. They're going to be on the road against the Colorado Rockies. It's undecided going for the Rockies, and should be a Ryan Gusto going for Miami. And it's looking like Michael Lorenzen for the Colorado Rockies. Right now, the Rockies are plus 108, minus 126 on Miami. Total's 12. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I do like that over. I did set my total here at a 12.2. Ryan Gusto has been no me gusto ever since coming up to the big league level last year at a 5.57 ERA, a fielding dependent that was relatively in line with that. 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Has looked a little bit better this season with a 5.06 ERA. And to his credit, only one earned run allowed in his last 2 appearances across 7 2/3 innings. I still need to see a little bit more before I can believe it, but I mean, even he's better than Michael Lorenzen. I recognize that Michael Lorenzen wasn't awful in his last appearance, but gosh, 6.83 ERA. The fielding dependent of a 4.70 with 1.4 home runs per 9 innings honestly does point towards a little bit of positivity, but Lorenzen has been absolutely brutal when he's back at Coors Field. 8.20 ERA at Coors Field. Man, oh man. And then he's backed up by a bullpen that's currently in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Well, he has been no good for this team. They're dealing with a few injuries now. For Victor Vodnik, he comes off the injury list, but he's got an ERA well above a 6 for the season. Jimmy Herget has regressed. He's got an ERA above a 4. Antonio Sensatella is starting to give up some runs. Now for the Rockies, Hunter Goodman is a good man. He's been able to give you 26 home runs, and he has done a tremendous job in terms of being able to give you the boom there. And then you had TJ Brownfield, Mickey Moniak, 12 to 13 home runs apiece. And towards the bottom of the lineup, Kyle Karros has now been able to give you about a 350 on base. You got Jake McCarthy hitting a 300. Need a little bit more, something like an Ezekiel Tovar. Brent Sullivan, some of these guys have just not been able to give you a lot there, but overall you have seen these guys do a better job there. And then for the Miami Marlins, they're sort of like the Southeast version of the Milwaukee Brewers. They just nickel and dime you to death, and they've got so many guys like Xavier Edwards and Jacob Marcy that are giving you over 12 stolen bases. They do a tremendous job there. They are getting back their top home run hitter in Liam Hicks, who spent some time on the injury list. He's been able to supply 13 home runs this season. Otto Lopez is hitting at 333. He's been able to give you 16 stolen bases. Now you need a little bit more of some of these guys like Elio Jimenez, Roberto Hernandez, Kyle Stowers, Owen Casey, a lot of guys hitting at 235 or lower with not necessarily a lot of power, but for the Marlins, they've been really good with the mixing and matching in the bullpen. Top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA. John King, Michael Peterson, Calvin Fauché. I'll give you a sub 355 ERA. Blake Picar's been a nice guy. You've got Anthony Bender currently on the injury list, and even though Ryan Gusto isn't trustworthy, that bullpen makes me think that the Marlins get the job done. Set them at a minus 139, so I do like the Marlins here on the money line, and like that over. So my total 12.2. 907, 908 on the card. It is the Cardinals, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves, as you've got one Mr. Dustin May hoping that it's Mayday for St. Louis. Right now it's listed as to be determined for the Braves, and right now the Braves are finding themselves at a minus 112. Minus 104 is a number on the St. Louis Cardinals, and 9 is the total. The under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. For the Atlanta Braves, I'm thinking that Grant Holmes should be able to get the start here. That's what I was seeing projected over on Fangraphs. You might be getting Hurston Waldrep, and if you do get Hurston Waldrep, that I think is all the better in my opinion, and I would be willing to lay this money line with Waldrep. I set him more around about a minus 128. He was very good in his small sample size last season. Now, you're going to need to see a little bit more from him, but he's a former first-round pick. If I'm not mistaken, he was a guy that was out there in the SEC, and I think that this guy's going to be able to put it all together. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He's sort of been up and down with regards to his minor league play, what have you, but it is a interesting circumstance here because even if you don't necessarily get a great start out of Hurston Waldrep, he's backed up by a bullpen that is number 1 by far in terms of ERA in all of baseball. You've had the Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, I'll give you a sub-3 ERA now. Robert Schwartz is dealing with a little bit of an injury, but you've had Raciel Iglesias be rock solid for this bullpen. You're getting Tyler Kinley off the injury list, and I will say for Waldrep, he's had no runs allowed in his 2 innings at the big league level this far this season. I obviously say that tongue-in-cheek, but in his minor league rehab starts, he made 5 in total. He was looking solid there. He wasn't really giving up the deep ball. He was having a few command issues, but when he was brought up to the AAA level, swing and miss stuff was down, but he was doing a nice job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. So I do think that this will be a shorter appearance for him, but I think that the Atlanta Braves can mix and match here, and that's part of the reason why I'm in on the over. I did set my total at a 9.3, and then for Dustin May, he has pitched better than the ERA would indicate. Right now, a 4.30 ERA, but a fielding dependent of a 3.32, 0.8 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, and he is getting in that neighborhood about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. And when it comes to this Atlanta Braves lineup, you've got a team that has been a little bit cold recently, but I think that they're going to be able to heat up. Matt Olson is still been able to give you 20 plus home runs, hitting at 275. Ozzy, Albies, 13 plus home runs, hitting at 275. Don Smith continues to hit at 280 with a double figure amount of bombs. Ori Mateo at the bottom of the fold, hitting at 265. Drake Baldwin has been a little bit cold since coming off the injury list, but all in all, other than really Austin Riley, you've had a very rock solid lineup. And for the Cardinals, they're averaging over 5.1 runs per game away from home. That is a top 3 mark in all of baseball. Von Herrera has been able to give you a 390 on base. Lars Nootbaar, a 400 on base. And then J.J. Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, Jordan Walker, all between about a 340 to a 360 on base, with Walker 18 plus home runs. Hard to trust in this Cardinals bullpen. And even though Hurston Waldrop, I just don't know what you're going to be able to get out of him in this start, I do trust in the Braves a little bit more with that bullpen, because for the Cardinals, Ryan Stanek's on the paternity list. Congratulations. And honestly, might be a little bit of an upgrade with the way that he has pitched. George Soriano, Gordon Gaseffo, these guys have been able to give you sub 350 ERA, but Jojo Romero's acted up. He, along with Riley O'Brien, both above a 380 ERA. Justin Brule's not necessarily been too amazing. Matt Savanson has been awful. So I do like the Braves here. I set them at a minus 128 in on that money line, and the over. I did set my total at a 9.3. 9 to 9, 9-10 on the card. It is the Padres, and they are going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers. Roki Sasaki goes for the Dodgers. Right now it's listed as undecided for the Padres, and the Dodgers open up at a minus 198, plus 166 for the Padres. 9 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105, and I'm going to be in on the Dodgers. I did set them here at a minus 213. The Padres are coming off of giving up a 23 spot yesterday. They gave up 23 runs. I know that it was very good hitting conditions out there at Wrigley Field, but they gave up 23 runs. That's all that needs to be said. Not great, to say the least. Now, the good news is they used up the backup catcher to be able to save the bullpen, and when you're not having the backup catcher out there, for the Padres, they entered in the top 5 in bullpen ERA entering into Wednesday. That dropped after they just got absolutely destroyed yesterday, but I mean, the actual bullpen pieces have been good for this team. Adrian Morejon has been able to round in form. Jason Adam, Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, sub 3 ERA, and then Mason Miller has been one of the best closers in all baseball. I just really don't trust in Randy Vasquez. He was a big-time regression candidate to begin the season. We are really starting to see that regression come to fruition right now. 444 ERA, 479 fielding dependent, only about 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up about 1.4 bombs per 9 innings. So you've had quite a few issues there, and for Randy Vasquez, he enters into the start having given up 14 runs, 10 of which were earned in his last 2 starts, and 4+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. And rookie Sasaki has been a much different pitcher when he's been at home rather than away from him. He's struggled this season, 4.88 ERA, 9 strikeouts at 3.8 walks per 9 innings. He's got about a 5.09 fielding independent, but you do take a look at Sasaki, and all those struggles are right now coming on the road. 6.25 ERA away from home at home. That goes down to a 3.50. Ironically enough, he's giving up more home runs per 9 innings at home, but good news is you get to face off against the San Diego Padres lineup that is averaging about 3.9 runs per game, dead sinking last in all of baseball. Now, the good news is Fernando Tatis Jr. is now up to 5 home runs, so yay, verily there, and he's been able to give you about a 340 on base. And then Gavin Sheets, holy Sheets, he and Manny Machado have a double figure amount of homers. Sheets is hitting for about a 320 on base, and Manny Machado is hitting a $190. And then Jackson Merrill, Freddie Fermin, Jay Cronenworth, Rodolfo Duran, a whole bunch of guys hitting at 225 or lower. Ty Francis giving you a 335 on base, but I mean, Xander Bogaerts continues to be a disappointment for this team. And then on the other end, you've got a Dodgers team that's actually hit much better when they've been away from home rather than at home. Dodgers are putting up about 4.45 runs per game at home, 6.15 runs per game when they've been on the road, but Mookie Betts has been able to turn it around a little bit more recently after a rough start to the season. He looked much better in the month of June. Obviously, you've got the likes of Andy Paz, Max Muncy, Shohei Ohtani between 16 and 18 home runs entering into yesterday, all hitting above a 265 with Ohtani, a 415 or so on base. Freddie Freeman's up to 13 home runs. Kyle Tucker continues to just be a waste of money, but small sample size. Tommy Edmonds sitting above a 350, so he's been relatively solid for the Dodgers. It has been a little bit of an up and down bullpen. You are dealing with a few injuries with now having Blake Trinan on the injury list. Edwin Diaz has still been out, but Tanner Scott, Great Scott, Alex Vesia, Will Klein, Brock and Roll Stewart have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. So do you think that the Dodgers go out here and dominate? I set their money line price at a minus 213. I was willing to lay up to a minus 108 on the run line. Right now, you're finding that at a plus 108. So I'm going to be in on that run line. And with a total of 9, I'm taking it over. So my total 9.2. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the White Sox on the road against the Guardians as Slade Sissoni is on the bump for the Guardians and Davis Martin for the White Sox. The White Sox do find themselves as a slim road favorite here between minus 118 to a minus 122. Even money to plus 102 is number on Cleveland. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. And I set my money line price at a minus 116. When the timelines come out, I should be able to get that minus 116. So I'm going to be looking in all likelihood at the White Sox on the money line. If worse comes to worse, to lay a run half with them. Right now it's plus 135, plus 140. I would need a little bit more there, so it would be probably a money line, or else then I would be looking to take a run half with Cleveland because I think that this is a low-scoring game. I set the total at a 7.3. I'm in on the under at Slade Sissoni. He has been much better recently. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in 10 straight starts. In 9 of those starts, 2 runs or fewer. So that 4.18 ERA with 7 strikeouts, 2.9 walks per 9 innings for the season, a little bit deceiving. Davis Martin, meanwhile, 3 ERA, 291 fielding appearance, 0.6 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, 8.7 strikeouts per 9. He's been solid, and Guardians had a nice outburst with their offense yesterday, but they're still dead sinking last in the American League in terms of scoring this year with about 3.9 runs per game, and they have scored less than 3.3 runs per game in their last 25 games. Just a whole bevy of injuries for the team. Chase Salauter is back. He's been able to about a 275, so that's been helpful, but having Angel Martinez along with Jose Ramirez being out of the fold, that has really hurt the team. Brian Rocchio and along with Travis Bazzana have been able to move line. Both of these guys, along the Austin edges, give you at least a 330 on base. David Fry has been able to give you a little bit of something, but still, he's hitting about a 215 for the season. Kyle Manzardo, 320 on base. Not necessarily a ton of power. Gabriel Reyes, Davis Schneemann. You're just not getting a lot of offense out of this team. They have no power whatsoever. And for the Guardians, they are in the top half of the big leagues. In terms of bullpen ERA, Sean Armstrong has had his issues, but Hunter Gaddis back below a 380 ERA. You've had Cade Smith, even though he's had a few ups and downs. He and Tim Aaron have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Eric Zabrowski has not looked quite himself since coming off the injury list, but still a sub 350 ERA out of him. And for the Chicago White Sox, they're back to being about a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got a few untrustworthy guys, Jordan Nix, Trevor Richards, along with Brandon Eisert, posting up above a 450 ERA, and Sir Anthony Dominguez just not great at the closer spot, but Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, they're able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the White Sox, you're now getting Kyle Teal off the injury list. He's maybe not the best power hitter, but I mean, it's a big upgrade from Edgar Quiero. And then you've got guys that are moving line, like Miguel Vargas, Chase Meadrow, Tristan Peters, between about a 344 to a 360 on base. Vargas is up to 19 home runs. Colson Montgomery not hitting for average at a 221, but 21 home runs. And then Sam Antonasi, 390 on base. Randall Grichuk, whenever he's been out there for the team, has been pretty solid as well. So I do think that the White Sox should be able to go out there, get the job done in a low-scoring game. Low to lay up to minus 115 on the Sox. And like the under, somebody told some play 3, 913, 914 on the card. It is the Royals, and they are going to be playing us to the Rays as it's Stephen Kolek who should be going here for the Royals. Right now for the Tampa Bay Rays, it's listed as to be determined, so this game's off the board. Ian Seymour should be contributing in a big way to this game, but that said, if it is Seymour and or an opener before Seymour, I did set the Rays at a minus 127. I'm going to be willing to lay up to minus 126 there, plus 128 or better looking at the Royals, and then set a total of a 9.8, 9.5 or less in on the over, a 10 or higher to the under. For Ian Seymour, just looking throughout his career, he's been much better as a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. Now, they used an opener for him in his last start against this very Royals team, 6 2/3 innings scoreless. That was at the Trop, and they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium. It's been warm out there in the Midwest, and ball's been absolutely flying with regards to this series, but still, you take a look at Ian Seymour throughout his career, a 3.44 ERA when he has been a starter compared to a 4.22 ERA coming out of the bullpen. His home runs per 9 rate is relatively the same, but he's actually up to 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings as a starter compared to 9.5 when he has been coming out of the bullpen. And then for Stephen Kolek, he is going to pitch to a lot of contact, but he's still been pretty steady for the Royals. He's had 1 or 2 starts that have really warped his numbers, giving up a 9 spot against the St. Louis Cardinals. Boy, that really was an ERA booster that's got him up to a 4.15 ERA. Prior to that, he was posting up a sub 3 ERA. He's given up about 1.4 4 home runs per 9. And again, only about 5.9 punch-outs per 9, but he does a good job in terms of keeping things out in front of him. 1.9 walks per 9 innings, so you're not facing off against a Tampa Bay Rays team that has really been able to find it with their offense. For the Rays, they're a top 12 team in terms of run creation with about 4.6 runs per game. Junior Caminero, 23 plus home runs. He's been able to give you over 370 on base. And then Yandy Diaz and Jonathan Miranda, they get lost in the sauce. 370 plus on base. They've both been able to give you 12 plus home runs. And then you've got Chandler Simpson, who gives you a double figure amount of stolen bases. He hits about a 265. Nick Fortes has been able to do a solid job. He's hitting above 250. Even Ben Williamson is a guy that moves the line for this team. Ryan Velde has been hitting above a 270 for this bunch as well. And then for the Royals, the offense was much better in the month of June, but still have to have your qualms with this team. You've got Bobby Witt Jr., Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione, all between 12 and 14 home runs, and with 28 stolen bases, he's giving you that over 350 on base. Caglione has worked on that on base as well, but Salvador Perez has 10 home runs with less than a 250 on base. That's just not going to cut it. Nick Lofton, he hits for a 230 with no power whatsoever. You've had Michael Massey be able to move line a little bit. Starlin Marte, he might still have a little bit of something left in the bag, but Lane Thomas hasn't been able to give you a lot either. This Royals bullpen has been just royally awful as well. Bottom 6 team in terms of ERA. Daniel Lynch has been solid. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Matt Strom, Lucas Ercich, well above a 4 ERA. Alex Lang is up to about a 5 ERA. John Schreiber has been relatively solid, and for the Tampa Bay Rays, it's been a little bit up and down in terms of that bullpen as well. But Cam Boozer, he's been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Casey Lugamina, he's down below a 325 ERA. Kirk Clevenger has been a mess this year, but Brian Baker, Kevin Kelly, these guys have been pretty solid as well. So minus 126 or better, looking at the Rays, plus 128 or better, the Royals, and then 9.5 or less, and on the over 10 or higher, the under 915, 916 on the card. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the Rangers as Nathan Eovaldi is on the bump for the Rangers from Valdez for the Tigers, and the Tigers do find themselves as a underdog here, as you're going to be getting them anywhere between about a plus 108 to a plus 115, and anywhere between a minus 130 to a minus 135. Then number on Texas, 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Under is minus 115, the over is minus 105 on the 7.5. Over is minus 125, the under is plus 105, and I do like the under. I did set my total at a 7.6. I recognize that for the season, Nathan Eovaldi has been giving up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings ERA at around 395, but 324 ERA in his last 14 starts. Faces off against the Tigers lineup that really hasn't had a lot of boom this year. 24th in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Extra innings was very much your friend yesterday, but that said, for this Tigers team, you still really have two main guys that move the line. That'd be Riley Green along Kevin McGonigal. Both give you over a 375 on base, and then Dylan Dingler has been your boom guy. He's been able to give you 18 home runs. He hits for about a 270, but you're still dealing with the injuries, the likes of Javi Baez along Felipe Torres, and a lot of guys like James Outman, Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling, Jake Rogers at the bottom lineup, hitting below a 210, and then Spencer Torkelson. He's been able to give you double figure amount of homers, only about a 315 on base. Gary Carpenter has been down with his on base as well, though he's been able to give you double figure amount of homers as well. Tigers have been able to round into form with more of a league average bullpen. ERA. Kadir Montero has been able to give you some good long relief since getting moved out of the rotation. Drew Summers has been pretty solid as well. They did have to use him up once again yesterday, so probably unavailable here, but sub 350 ERA out of him. Tyler Holton has been rounded form, and I do like what I'm seeing out of Kyle Finnegan. Always a roll of the dice with Kenley Jansen, though, and then for the Texas Rangers, they're about 11th to 12th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Tyler Alexander, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Cole Winn, after a sub 2 ERA last season, he's up to a 70. It's just been absolutely awful, and then the injuries to the likes of Garrett Collier and Chris Martin have been hurting the team a little bit, but still relatively solid bullpen for the Rangers. They just have had a tough time generating offense with Wyatt Langford being in and out of the fold. You do have Jake Berger supplying 14 home runs along Jock Peterson, and both guys hitting between a 242, 250. Peterson up to about a 340 on base, and then got guys moving line like Brandon Nimmo continues at about a 265-ish. Ezekiel Duran of 275. Langford was hitting at 275, so that hurts, but Justin Folkskew, he hits about a 275, and Nicky Lopez from out of nowhere is hitting well above a 300 along with Elias Diaz, so that's been pretty solid. Again, not a lot of power for this team. Corey Seager is going to need to pick it up. He's still hitting below the Bedell sign of a 200, but I do think that they're going to get to a guy in Framber Valdez who's busting up a 405 ERA, fielding dependent is in line with that, but over 3 walks per 9 innings, career low 7.2 punch-outs per 9, so like the Rangers to get the job done here, especially with the Tigers having to go to extra innings yesterday. I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 138 with Rangers, like the under. Semi-total at 7.6, and wrap things up with 917, 9-18. The Angels are on the road against the Mariners, as it is going to be Bryce Miller who goes for the Mariners, and you've got Valdearena on the bum for the Angels, and the Angels are a massive underdog here. You're going to be getting them in that neighborhood of plus 170 to plus 178. Meanwhile, minus 205 to minus 210 is that number on Seattle. 7.5 is the total. Over and under any between minus 105 to minus 115, and I like the over. It did so my total at an 8.1. This has been an Angels team that's been a top 8 team in terms of run creation away from home with about 4.95 runs per game. I know that Mike Trout is currently out of the fold, but so have Zach Neto has been able to give you over 15 home runs. Well, he doesn't hit for a lot of average, but he certainly has been able to hit for that power this season, and additionally, you've been able to get some relatively good at-bats out of a few of these mix-and-match guys, like Donovan Walton has come from absolutely nowhere whatsoever, and he's been able to hit like a 300 for this team. You've had Jose Siri do a nice job in terms of moving the line for this bunch as well, and on the flip side for the Seattle Mariners, it is a team that has been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Cal Raleigh still hitting below the Mendoza line of 200, and even though J.P. Crawford has been able to give you an on-base percentage above a 335 with a double-figure amount of homers, his batting average is below a 220. Julio Rodriguez has cooled down a little bit. Luke Raley, Dom Canzone, all between 13 to 14 home runs, and for Canzone, he's been able to give you about a 350 on base. Rodriguez hitting more like a 260 or so, and they're getting back Randy Arozarena, 370 on base, but Josh Naylor has been a little bit of a flop for the team thus far this season. Now, it is the Mariners bullpen that has been rock solid. They've been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen area, but Matt Brash right now dealing with an injury along Cooper Criswell. That does hurt this team a little bit. So have the likes of Edward Bizardo, Nick Davila, along with Jose Ferrer, who've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Gabe Spire has been giving you a sub-2 ERA as well. And Bryce Miller, he's been great this year. 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 197 ERA, but 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. That fielding dependent is above a 3, and for Valdearena, while he's been able to keep the ball in the yard. 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He leaves himself prone to getting knocked out of the start early. He is giving up about 4.6 walks per 9 innings, 314 ERA, closer to a 385. Fielding dependent, and that bullpen is just terrible. Bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Chase Silseth has been solid. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, and Sam Bachman right around about a 335 ERA, but then Ryan Zefrian and Brent Suter are both giving you an ERA well above a 4. When they've trotted out their Sean Anderson, that's not been great. They've been just looking for anything whatsoever in this bullpen. They were trying out their Alec Manoah and guys like that. They tried Joey Lucchesi for a little bit. Kirby Yates has been solid since coming off the injury list. Jose Fermin, about a 350 ERA, but just not a lot of trustworthiness there. And for the Angels, I just think that the way that they hit away from home provides a little bit of value here, and I do think that Miller's doing for some regression. So I like the over, so I told it at 8.1 and plus 174 better. I'm in on the Angels on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to our guy Scott Reichel, who does such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you're liking what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways. We offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter. So, per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day. I give you picks and analysis on every game every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.